Welcome back to the Power of Perspective, the talk show with Sean and BJ. My name is Sean.
And this is BJ Tench.
And we are so happy to be back with Season 3, Episode 3. This is going to be Part 2 of the talk about just not caring, the state of not caring, and just flat out, just not giving an F, if we're really keeping it 100 like everybody say. We've been gone for a little bit, but we are back, as they say. I'm definitely privileged and happy about having the viewers come back. So appreciative of that. But also happy to be back speaking to you, my man. How have you been?
I've been blessed, man. I definitely can't complain. I feel like life is, as I always say, like a roller coaster. So right now I'm in between hills, man. I'm seeing a lot of my high school buddies or having children that are sophomores and juniors in high school, middle school age, old enough to record things on YouTube, such as sporting events, all kinds of just making my age really show up. Like I'm really seeing what 33 is about.
Absolutely.
But on another note, Sean, I lost two friends this summer. I lost my grandfather, and I lost a childhood friend that I walked to school with every day. Saw her, briefly every day. Saw her passing. Very sweet-hearted person. And her and her family are mourning right now, and they know what I'm talking about. And I just want them to know that I'm praying for them.
Man. And may they, as I always say about those who have transitioned on into the next life. I told you this already, but may your granddad, and may everybody that you just talked about, and some of the other people I think that you've lost, may they all prosper in the next life.
Thank you.
And may their spirit and souls, and the family of their spirits and souls, and family of these people and friends of these people be able to mourn, but also move forward towards holistic health and happiness, man. And some people don't care about even that, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to a point where, people do care whenever people pass away, if it's somebody close to them, but I think sometimes the psyche of humanity, just being a human in today's world, we've gotten so far away from compassion and empathy that if it ain't somebody close to us, we just like, oh, all right, whatever.
And it seems like, Sean, that there's untimely entering of caring. And what I mean by that is we glorify death. We like to glorify our athletes or historians and people that have meant so much once they're mounted on the wall, or they're no longer here to represent. But when we have the brothers in the living, when we have them one-on-one or at the barbecues, or even the other day, even though we were mourning a loss of a loved one, it was still time to appreciate life. And sometimes I feel like a lot of people don't care until it's too late, and that person that should be there to appreciate you caring isn't always there to perceive it, depending on what you believe. Because there are some people that believe, that person's with them in the spirit.
Right.
But there are some people who believe once they're gone, they're gone. Well, to all of the individuals who do believe that, wouldn't you take advantage and soak up when you have that person in your face? Soak up the living. Appreciate the living. Don't wait until they're gone to learn how to care, because as we said off the camera, cancer doesn't care. The brothers with the gun that's smoking 50 blunts before they let off rounds, they haven't went to target practice to even see who they're going to shoot. They don't care.
You bring up an incredible point whenever you talk about, I call it a posthumous love, right? For our viewers who may not know what that word means, posthumous just relates to something that occurs after death. And sometimes, like I've said this in the past so many times, like when you give somebody posthumous love, it's like they died twice. Because one, they've already physically died, but then whenever, you give them all of this love and endearment, even that dies out. Right? Think about how whenever Whitney Houston passed, or Michael Jackson or Prince, it's like the day before, nobody was really clamoring about them, like they did whenever he passed. And then there was like a new life of love and energy. We love you, Whitney. We love you, Michael. We love you, Prince. But even that fades away too. So like you're saying, I can't agree with you more, man. Like, give people their roses while they're here. Like, love people, appreciate them while they're here, so that you don't have to be in that space where when somebody dies, you love them posthumously. I think that's why I was able to, one of the main reasons maybe why I was able to accept my own father's passing more, because we gave each other our roses, you know what I'm saying, in 30 years. Like I feel like we had more to give each other in terms of like father and son love and X, Y, and Z. And my dad had more to offer the world, but me personally, I gave him his roses while he was here. He gave me my roses. We appreciate each other, so it was just a little bit easier to deal with because we loved each other in the moment.
Powerful stuff, man.
You know, yeah. But hey man, I guess in continuing just to talk about the spirit of I don't care, you brought up another point about we've kind of idolized death.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's so many different tangents that we could go off with that one. I'm glad you brought that up. Didn't really have anything prepared for that, but can you speak a little bit more about what you mean about that in terms of idolizing, glamorizing death, and how that relates to maybe the spirit of I don't care?
Sure. One of the easiest targets for that conversation would be the fact that you just brought up musicians, entertainers. You know, Whitney, Michael Jackson, Prince. For brothers like us, we love Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of my favorites right there.
Yeah,
Bruce is the man. May he prosper in the next life.
May he prosper in the next life.
But while they were here, first of all, neither you or I was even speckles in our father's eyes yet. We wasn't born to the 80s, but their movies, their music does live on.
Yeah.
But to those individuals who were present when they were living, you know, they actually, while they were in their prime, because we were alive, you know, for the other three individuals as they were on the other side of life where people started to target them heavy, what do they call it? Always imitated, never duplicated. Like every comedy scene was making fun of Prince or Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
That brings me to the point. You know, they made fun of him, they made fun of his nose, they made fun of the way they dressed, their creativity. But the moment they were gone, it was just like, you know, everybody all of a sudden wanted to wear one glove.
Yeah.
Some people even all of a sudden were fans of the chapless jeans where the butt cheeks was out in the jeans and whatnot. Or people all of a sudden stopped making fun of Whitney Houston's alleged lifestyle. And that's entertainers. But when it comes to everyday life, what our individuals in our families and people that you may pass, your loved ones, your spouses, it seems that no matter how bad they're treated, they'll make sure that when they pass, sometimes there's untruths even being told. Like, you were treated so bad while that person was living.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that certain individuals would be relieved if that person was being treated a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden they change and they care so much.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, this person was abusing you. Constantly you were living in terror, in jail while they were there. I'm not saying that they should have been wishing death. But to a certain degree, why lie? And then on the other side of that, I'll say, again, me and you are sitting here right now. We're enjoying each other's company. We're loving what we do. We're loving talking to the viewers and showing them how we feel, the perspective, our perspective, which isn't just you and I. It's also our viewers' perspective. While we're here, enjoy it. I'm not going to wait until you're gone to say, you know what, man, maybe I should have did this more. Maybe I should have done that more. You have that right now. Regardless of your disagreements, your own ideologies, your differences, you could still care about that person through flaws and all. Don't wait until they're gone.
Absolutely, man. It seems like you know, apathy and not caring. Well, first of all, it's easier. It's easier not to care. Whenever you do care, you know, causes you to invest your energy, right? It's much more simple just to be like, you know what, I don't give a F, whatever, like, I don't care X, Y, and Z. And then with empathy, you know, empathy is just not something that it seems to be, like, even, you know, I don't want to keep bringing up certain cultures. You know, I do want this to be open for discussion for everybody, but it caused me to go to, like, the hip-hop culture where, you know, empathy is something that if you have too much empathy and compassion, you could be perceived as being weak, right? So if I care about you, you know, I might not be able to be the stuck gangster, criminal, whatever that, you know, I'm out to be. And people care more about, you know, being somebody who they aren't than to be who they not. And I think that a lot of people just don't have healthy, strong, robust self-awareness, self-identity, and it sometimes they rather be a negative nobody than to be nobody at all. Excuse me, they rather be a negative somebody than to be nobody at all. So I think this should bring up an incredible point. Kind of want to divert the discussion a little bit, if you will, as we talk about death. because I think that there's also been like a death in the appreciation for history, right? I'm finding that like a lot of people above age 65, like senior citizens, when I'm sitting and talking to them, like they always say, "Man, young man, like I'm so happy that you gave me the opportunity to like to tell you about my time, the time before," because what they're telling me is that like so many young people, maybe below the age of 50, don't really care about history, and I'm like, how can you care about the future and these kids in the future, whatever the future means to you, if you don't really care about history? It's like you're even apathetic to history, and that's just kind of appalling to me that we've reached a day in time where people don't even care about not just history in general, they don't care about their own history, and that's dangerous. Thoughts about that?
I was actually thinking about what you were saying about empathy and apathy. And I had thought about a training that I had to go to for my employer. Can empathy be taught?
I think it can be learned. I think empathy can be a learned behavior.
Okay.
Can it be taught? Yeah, but just like something can be taught doesn't mean that, like, I can teach you how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you can know how to do it. But if you don't desire it, then you're not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think it can be taught, but you know, if it's not desire, like I desire, I'm not afraid to be empathetic. I want to be empathetic. I desire to be that way. So but before I get too talkative, I think it's yes, but also it still has to be desired by the learner.
Okay, because I had said that because with empathy, that's about again caring. So we don't care for our elders, and when I say that, Sean, I don't mean you or I. I mean the demographics show that we overtalk our senior citizens. We roll our eyes. We put on our earbuds. We turn on our cell phones. And lo and behold, sometimes that's helpful history. Sometimes, if not all the time.
Yeah, if not all the time.
Because we do have some elders who are misinformed. Right. We definitely do. Who are uninformed. Believe it or not, just because they've been on this planet for so long does not mean that they're dropping jewels. They could be just dropping
bombs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bad bombs. Yeah.
But I do
Killer
think
bombs.
that there is an issue with our culture, or lack thereof, for not even paying attention to the history. Because the only history that we're taught in public school, the only narrative seems to be the slavery to the civil rights, and then it stops. There had to be something that went on before the slavery, and what is our plan if we're quote unquote still in mental slavery? What is the plan to get out?
Let me stop you right there, B, because I want to hear more about what you got to say. Anybody who's been talking to me recently knows that that's been a concept that I have been passionate about. So let's go to a break real quick. We're going to come back and BJ's going to go more into depth, and I want to also provide some type of response and just continue contribution to that idea. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with The Power of Perspective, the talk show with Sean and BJ. Welcome back to The Power of Perspective, the talk show with Sean and BJ. Man, BJ, whenever before we went off for a break, man, you were on fire talking about history and just relating it to empathy and apathy. Can you just continue to speak about what you're talking about? Because you brought up such a powerful concept.
Sure. Before we went on a break, I had said, the narratives that were taught in public school. Not all schools, but public schools. My school, Sean's school, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers. The narrative is, you came here, you was in shackles and chains. Martin Luther King came, Malcolm X hurt you, the Black Panthers destroyed you, and next thing you know, we're millionaires and we're all mental slaves now, or we're in slavery mental. There had to be something that occurred before slavery. There had to be something that occurred even during. And what is our plan to get out of this so-called mental slavery? I say that, Sean, to the viewers, because I feel like with all of the injustices that we're witnessing, and some of us have experienced here in Pittsburgh and nationwide, worldwide, there is ways of people perceiving caring, the perception of caring. And for people like you and I, who go to work every day, who might not protest, who might not make a blog or a YouTube rant we get perceived as not caring about police brutality.
True.
We get perceived as not caring about the Me Too thing that's going on right now, the Me Too movement, excuse me, ladies. Date rape, abuse,
Domestic
violence. Because I go to work every day, because you don't get a chance to see, my perception of caring could be a little blurry. But the way the world has pretty much put everything on display, and it's a right now microwave society, you only care if you're rioting, belittling another race, or more important, stuck in complacency with what's going on right now.
Man, to add to that, and I do agree with you. I mean, that kind of lights the fire for me, because sometimes whenever you start offering people solutions to their problems, they start having problems with your solutions, right? And it's interesting because I don't mind being on the front lines. I mean, you probably just like me. You know, we don't come off, I'm gonna speak for myself. I know I don't come off as this, super aggressive idiot who just, is going to intimidate you. But people who know me, like I have, like I'm not afraid to go to the extreme. Like I love fighting X, Y, and Z, super duper amounts of fights. Like, I don't try to expose that side of me. I don't mind being on the front lines. But at the same time, sometimes people are living the solution, right? So just because you don't go and riot, it don't mean that you ain't, like, BJ's living the solution. But sometimes people got this selective vision of where they gonna misinterpret, oh, you don't care. Like, really, I don't care. I'm raising my kids. I'm going to work. I got a business.
I'm meeting with police officers.
Who
don't necessarily care for me.
My gosh. Now to that point, I love how the divine mind, how God works. You have brought up this idea, this historical idea of how, we've been taught about chattel slavery. And I've been telling people a lot, Black people in America have been taught only to read page 40 to the end. Don't ever read page 1 to 39. And it's like, nah, like I'm going to read that. Especially as I'm getting older, I've been reading about that even more. And what you find is this: whenever the colonizers, the Europeans, the Spanish, the Portuguese, when they came to Africa to colonize us about the 1440s, you talk about not caring. Not only did they not understand our culture because it wasn't mirroring theirs, they didn't even make an attempt to understand the culture. They didn't even care. They didn't care at all, right? And they were able to use that. They said that was the white man's grave. And this is not just Black authors saying this. This is actually white authors who write about this too, saying that white colonizers who came to Africa, they made no attempt to understand the culture because they didn't care to. And because Black people were perceived as savage and barbarians, they used that against them. So what am I saying right now? There's many things being said, but why would you take on and I'm not trying to disrespect any white people at all, I'm just speaking about written, documented facts. Why would you take on the negative parts of the oppressor's psyche? A lot of people today, I don't care. I texted one of my clients, or I won't call him a client. I texted one of the young men that I work with, Tupac's song Changes. I'm like, yo, this was in the 90s. Like, what do you think about this? You know what he said? He said, what he's saying is real true. He said, but you know what? People in my generation don't care about it. They don't care. So why would you, like, we've taken on this apathetic costume that was the very embodiment of what put us into slavery. And to say that, and then they say that Africans had oral history. Sometimes we didn't write our history. It was explained like this. So then whenever the colonizers came, they said we didn't have any history because it wasn't written, but we have so much history. But if you don't care about history, you won't ever know what I'm talking about right now.
Exactly. You're actually speaking foreign. You're speaking foreign right now. We might have lost people when we came back from the break.
Oh my God.
As soon as I said the word narrative, because that's what it is. It's a narrative.
Right.
There are so many untruths to what's going on in our books. But the only way you can debate that, instead of getting on the IGs and the Twitters and posting things so negative or begging for attention-seeking behavior, you gotta do a little research, and that takes a little bit of caring.
And a little bit of caring can turn into a lot of caring.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like money. Like you get a little. I remember I talked to one of my past parents, and she was talking about like she used to be a negative, promiscuous teen in the early 2000s. I'm like, well, what changed you? She's like, when I got a little taste of money, got my own job, I wanted more money. She's like, so I started to correct my behavior so I can make the money. Like when you start caring a little bit, like that could relate to more caring. But do people, sometimes people might get scared of caring more.
I always say this, caring is daring.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
There's a lot of people who have passion for sports, passion for acting, passion for writing, passion for doing what we're doing right now. And I say, I dare them to try. We call it here in Pittsburgh, like we like ripping. Some people might call it ragging on, some people might say busting jokes or capping on one another. But one of my easiest comebacks is if you really think you that nice, get out there and do it. I dare you to.
That's right.
So I dare a lot of people to care. Because even in defeat, if things don't go the way you want to, when you care about something, you understand that the end result may not be what you want. That shouldn't stop you from caring.
Absolutely.
That shouldn't stop you from caring, because if you don't care, then when it's too late, this is where death comes into play. From the very beginning of the show, now all of a sudden I should have did this. And man, if I would have just told her this, if I would have just did this, maybe I should have done that. You didn't even try. You didn't even dare yourself. All of these people out here who have concerns with some of our communities, instead of looking at that young woman who might have been promiscuous, and you don't have to do it by yourself. Maybe you want to take another woman. Try talking to her. Try encouraging her to smile. Try encouraging her for alternatives. But that's daring.
Yeah.
Caring can be daring. And I also say this, man, because I can't let this go before we are done today, Sean. Growing up as a kid, one of my favorite cartoons was Care Bears.
Okay.
It's kind of the soft side, but, Keisha and Lorena, y'all know who y'all are out there. I used to call them my Care Bears, man. They're a couple years younger than me. They used to do all these things for me, man. Like make food, make Rice Krispie treats, man. Always come to the games. Just little sweet things like that. They cared about me. No intimacy, no weird play. Just honestly, they cared about me. And I used to say, y'all my Care Bears. Well, the Care Bears' 3 top villains, if you all are 80s babies or you had a chance to check into it, was Professor Coldheart, No Heart, and the Cloud Monster. And I know this is corny, but I look at that as, those are the villains of caring. When you say a person doesn't care, Sean, they're cold. So I look at these characters now, Professor Coldheart. Now, the writer that made that, he ain't no genius. I'm not ripping on him. But I can understand why that would be a villain to a Care Bear. Professor Coldheart, Professor No Heart, and the Cloud Monster. There are people that the moment you start to care, they have a comeback. They just automatically becomes the villain to people who do care. So I say that to say, man, and the Care Bears never roll solo. It's once you find somebody that does care about you, whether it's a significant other, whether it's your brother, whether it's, a girlfriend, whether you fall out with them or marry them, take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
Take advantage of that, man. Like, you can't do it alone.
Man, you brought. I love how you just did that, bro. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ideas again that I always think I say all the time that come whenever you speak. But we should do. They have the ice bucket challenge. We should do the I care challenge. You know what I mean?
Did LeBron just come out with a school? I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, Bron, we need to do a little thing. I care.
I care. You know what I'm saying? Have that be a social media thing. You talked a lot about, and I like how you brought up the villains within the Care Bears, because look, even though we're talking about empathy and caring, I'm gonna say what I said last show. I've developed a term called empathetic apathy. There are times whenever not caring and apathy can be very useful, but that's for a greater good. But when you make a lifestyle out of apathy and there's this maliciousness to it, that's what we're talking about. That's what we want to cut out. whenever, because there's a pathology with that as well. We're not saying that you have to be this weak, docile, soft-spoken person. That's not necessarily what we're talking about. But what we are saying is that you can still be a very strong, powerful, brilliant, respectable person, and there is strength and power to having empathy. Sometimes we think that to care is to be weak and all that. We saying that's bull. That's BS. I ain't gonna cuss, but you know what I'm saying. That's complete BS. One of the things that I just want to address, not talk about, because I think that we're also, in talking about what we've been talking about, we're bringing up how there's a pathology to some of this stuff, right? And when we look at the black community and all other communities as well, but since we are who we are here in America, there's a certain pathology to like some of this stuff and not caring who we are. And it makes me think about just like the mental health side of things and how, black people and all people, but I do want to focus on black people because I think it's more severe for us. We have all of these different mental health illnesses that are going undiagnosed. All these symptoms that we're experiencing that we're not talking about, because when you look back at history, black men especially had to develop a higher tolerance for pain because every day you could have been whooped and all this, and just dealing with detrimental situations. So it delays black people to seek help because our tolerance for pain is so high. And it gets to the point where we're experiencing all these mental health problems, but we don't care about them. It's like, yo, bro, like you need to go see a therapist. Like, nah, I don't do that. I don't care about that.
I struggle with going to the doctor now, man.
You see what I'm saying? Someone
has to tell me, you need to go to your PCP. What's a PCP?
Yeah.
The primary care physician. Oh yeah, that.
And to care about others is to care about yourself. Your well-being needs to be optimal for you to be able to give optimal energy. Because as our other partner, Dr. Ian Edwards, says, if you don't keep yourself at an optimal place of well-being, what you give away can be toxic. So you may be thinking that you're caring and you're having empathy and you're, out here changing the world and giving the best you got. But if you really ain't healthy yourself, what you give away could be toxic. So that's the only thing I wanted to end with, man. BJ, do you have any final words for the people?
I just want to tell our viewers, keep your selfishness balanced. Like, being selfish is a bad thing, but there is, like Sean was saying about empathy, that's how I feel about becoming successful. There is a good dose of being selfish to become successful.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you do have to worry about yourself.
Yeah.
If that means tapping into yourself, you have for some alone time, praying, fasting, whatever it is that you need to do to get to become a better person, do that. And that is a small dose of being selfish, but that's also empathy, because as Sean just said, if you're not strong, if you're not mentally stable, it doesn't have to be your job. It could be the fact that you're a father or a mother or a cousin or a companion. If you're not mentally stable, you'll be pushing out things that are toxic. So I enjoyed myself today, Sean. I'm so glad to be back, man.
Hey, me too. I appreciate you as always. Hey, we appreciate you. Know that sometimes we take little breaks in between, but we like to keep you all guessing. So that was today's show. We may do a part 3 sometime in the future, but we're looking forward to the next topic as well. Many thank yous and much appreciation for you all for tuning in. Go to PerspectVe.com to learn more about what me and BJ do.